Hello people, Magbo here, and welcome to the start of my video game documentary series. And before I get to my whole experience on the Super Nintendo and this history behind it, I wanted to let you all know what my plans are for this series. Basically, in my recent update video, I was mentioning that I want to start a new Magbo video game collecting series to focus on the documentary of each of the gaming consoles that I have ever owned, from the Super Nintendo to the Steam Deck. So this is episode 1 of the Magbo video game documentary series, and we will organize each episode to the following: the history behind the console as a whole, the specs, my experience on it, and some of the best games I have experienced myself and what I love about some of them briefly. While these documentary series would focus on my overall enjoyment of the video game console, but you will know the history behind it to educate yourself on why consoles like the Super Nintendo was well cherished by many fans. Also, I now have a PayPal donation link for anyone who wishes to donate towards my work. Any donations I receive will be invested back in these series of videos, since it will take time and effort to make these videos, but I really enjoy making these kinds of videos regardless, so I wanted to have fun with this again. My goal is to make at least 2 of these full documentary videos per month, starting from this month in April 2025, to stay consistent in this. Hope it was worth the wait. Now with all this out of the way, let's talk about the Super Nintendo for a bit, my experience with it, and then by the end, feel free to write your experience on the Super NES and what you enjoyed about it in the comment section below. The Super NES was released in the USA on August 23rd, 1991 for its launch price at $199.99. Yeah, $300 less than what the Switch 2 is going to be releasing for, ironically. It is a 16-bit home video game console developed by Nintendo, obviously, and it launched with games like Super Mario World, F-Zero, and Pilot Rings. This is what a Super Nintendo cartridge looks like. It's quite smaller than the previous NES cartridge, as you can see a comparison from one of my older videos on my channel comparing Nintendo cartridge size. The name of this console in Japan was not the same though. It's called the Super Famicom and is shaped quite differently from the Super Nintendo counterpart. Here are the comparison of it here. The Super Nintendo cart from North America is about 5.25 inches horizontally and 3.5 inches tall, while the Super Famicom is just around 5 inches wide and just a tiny bit taller than the Super Nintendo counterpart, but more or less the same size. You would not be able to play Super Famicom games on a Super Nintendo USA version unless you cut off the couple of the plastic in the cartridge, as you can see here. In comparison, the Super NES cartridge has these 2 hole hinges that allows it to slide through the plastic fine, while the Super Famicom cartridge does not have that. Also, the game label shapes are quite different from one another as well. The Super Famicom cart is quite wider horizontally than the SNES cart version. Heck, even their logos are quite different as well. So, you would be probably fooled into believing that these two are totally different consoles, but they really are not. Let's go to the controllers and compare those. The shape of both controllers are exactly the same, but the X, Y, A, B buttons on the right side of the controllers are different in colors. The SNES controllers are 2 different shapes of violet, like the Y and the X buttons on top are very light violet, and the bottom B and A buttons are dark shades of purple. While the Super Famicom controller are 4 basic colors, with Y being green, X being blue, B is yellow, and A is red. The start and select button fonts are different, as you can see as well. The Super NES logos on both controllers are quite different as well. So you can safely say that both the Super Nintendo and the Super Famicom may seem different visually, but they are the same consoles, just in different regions. Just one being the USA version and the other being the Japan version. Some games are exclusive to each region, like Jelly Boy being exclusive to the PAL version of the Super NES, which is similar shape as the Super Famicom cartridge, but the logo is the same as the USA version. Very interesting. All in all, hardware wise, I love the gray and purple design on the Super Nintendo US version, which is the very first console I ever owned in my life back in December of 1993. Sadly, I do not own the original Super Nintendo anymore at this time, but I do own the Super Boy Black Gold Edition from Hyperkin, which I did review on this channel before, so if you wish to know even more about it, check that video out after this one. I love the fact that I'm able to play all 3 regions of the Super Nintendo cartridges. Yes, you can play North America, PAL, and Famicom cartridges on this thing, so it's fully region free. And it looks decently well on screen, as you can see it playing some of my Super Nintendo games as well. Of course, this Super Nintendo handheld device can also play on the TV. I also own a Super Nintendo Classic Mini as well, hooked up to my TV, where I have 25 games built in, plus even more after modding the thing as well. And I can play some Super NES games that were not included too, like the English fan-dub of Sailor Moon RPG. So it's convenient to have. I do not plan to get an original SNES back anytime soon, but that may change in the near future because this is where it all started for me to get into Super Nintendo games indeed. Speaking of Super Nintendo games, let me show you some of the games I had fond memories of as well. When I first got the Super NES back in December of 1993, my dad gave me 2 games alongside with it, which are Super Mario World and Disney's Aladdin, both platformer games. And I will never forget the memories of me running, jumping, and riding Yoshis in Super Mario World, as well as jumping on guards and throwing apples in the Aladdin game. And that was even made by Capcom at the time. I also remember being stuck in the lava chase level in Aladdin for years because I got so nervous that I thought it was impossible to pass as a kid, but now I'm able to do it with ease as an adult. The following year I was submerged into the 3DS world of Donkey Kong Country. At the time, the graphics were out of this world and realistically compared to Super Mario World. I remember passing through these levels countless times and never getting bored. Super Mario Kart was my entry to my interest to Mario Kart as a whole, especially me playing battle modes with some of my friends as well. Yes, even horrible games like Space Ace where I died a lot in the first level. Yeah, that game was confusing, but I did got it around that time. Yes, that was very annoying to be honest. And throughout the years, I really built many fond memories with Yoshi's Island. Why was it called Super Mario World? I guess that's for advertisement. Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighter was quite addicting when my childhood pal Joe Solzano introduced it to me. Battletoads Double Dragon, and even more Mario games in the Super Mario All-Stars compilation, which included the main Super Mario Bros. Game from the NES to be upgraded from 8-bit to 16-bit. A huge step up in visual compared to their former NES counterparts. And I sure love the Kirby games that came out on the SNES as well. I own 3 out of the 4 physical games that came out for it, but sadly Kirby's Dream Land 3 is quite an expensive game now. But it is a game I'm seeking in my Magbo's game list, so the hunt continues there. There are like 3 other legal ways I'm able to play it now, so I'm not in a hurry to get it. The Donkey Kong Country trilogy was an amazing experience as well. I only had the first one as a kid sadly, and the other 2 I had to wait until I was nearly in my adult years to finally experience the other 2 games, since I remember back in 1996, I was no longer allowed to play Super Nintendo games until 1999, because I was pretty nervous and hyper playing these games as a kid. They were very fluid and clean the way the Donkey Kong trilogy ran. And I will not want to leave out my most favorite Japanese Super Famicom game that I own, which was Nash Lieber right here. It's a very obscure game, but if you enjoy the Fire Emblem strategy JRPG gameplay with some card mechanics in it, especially with a group of teenage anime girls, you are gonna love this game. I started playing this when I was in high school. I made reviews on both games from their respective series before, which I will leave the links to these reviews in the description below as well in case you want to watch them after this video. Yes, since it's my Super Nintendo documentary, I did not want to leave Nash Lieber out of this. Over the years as I grow up, I got into playing even more games which I do not have much time to explain in this video, but as you can see in my collection that I have been rebuilding since 2023, it's sure a lot of variety therein. Overall, I would say that growing up, the Super Nintendo has been the most nostalgic and memorable gaming console to me since it's the very first console that I grew up with. The SNES is the direct sequel and upgrade of the original NES that came out back in 1985. Everything about what made the NES great has been directly improved tenfold with the SNES. Many games that the NES has had a direct sequel to it, and an improved one as well. Nowadays, there are so many ways for you to play the SNES, whether it be through legal means like the SNES Mini, the Nintendo Switch Online membership, and the Superboy, but also modding almost any console you could think of and being able to play any SNES games you want this day. and it runs pretty well on most consoles today. Every generation deserves to learn about this piece of gaming history and playing them till their heart's content. I believe if you are a platformer fan, there are more than enough games for you to enjoy in this console. Of course, there are some fighting games, beat 'em ups, racing games, and even JRPGs as well. I love the 16-bit sound since it always takes me back to the simple times where I can enjoy games like these to the max. All in all, no matter how old I get, I would see myself always coming back to the SNES to enjoy my childhood games every now and then. Or heck, even try some new games I have yet to play from that console, since there are sure a lot of those games. A lot of the more noteworthy Super Nintendo games are still pretty inexpensive if you decide to go for cartridge only like I did, because getting it with the game box and manual is a different ballgame altogether, even for the most common Super Nintendo game, Super Mario World for example. What is your experience on the Super Nintendo? And what are some of your most favorite games on the platform? Feel free to comment below on that. Also leave a like if you enjoyed this video and share this video with everyone you know that really enjoys the Super Nintendo and grew up with it as well. Also, if you believe I did an amazing job and want to donate some money for this project to continue, like I said earlier, feel free to submit your donation on my PayPal link below. Of course, this is optional. This is only the beginning of my video game documentary series. Episode 2 will cover my experience and history behind the Nintendo Game Boy, which was the second gaming system I ever owned. I hope you look forward to that, and I believe that's it for now. And Magbo says, hope you enjoyed the hunt. If this video has motivated you to start collecting for the Super Nintendo, I wish you best of luck on finding the games you're looking for. Good luck finding games like Hagane, Chrono Trigger, and Earthbound for your collection. You may be paying quite a pretty penny for it. Anyways, I will see you all in the next video. Magbo Gaming out. Bye bye. Thank you for watching this video. Check these videos too that are related to what you just watched. I'm sure you will find some enjoyment there. You can also follow me on Instagram and support the channel via Patreon or buy my Magbo merch. Links below. Hope to see you again soon.